People that listen to our podcast, you know what they want to hear? They want to hear 4 fucking grizzly bears getting down on some bullshit. That's what they want to hear.
Welcome to the Drivers Project podcast, featuring hosts Dominic Scelzi, JJ Hickle, Sam Hafertepe Jr., and myself, Daryl Turford.
The Drivers Project podcast is brought to you by Kaiser Aluminum Wheels. Be wiser, by Kaiser. We're back with another Drivers Project podcast presented by Kaiser Wheels. And Dom and JJ were both supposed to be on tonight. Both fired up their cars tonight for racing this weekend. And Dom had a blown motor when he blew his up. And JJ had an oil leak out of his oil pan. So right now, we got Chase Raudman to fill in. Chase, you obviously just had a pretty big weekend with the Interstate Batteries High Limit series. How'd that go?
Yeah, I think it went pretty well. Obviously, the first race of the year, doesn't matter who you are, you're going to have some bumps in the road, of course. But I think that, overall it was a really successful weekend. I think that we had a lot of good things over a lot of, the good outweighed the bad, I would say, on the first week for us. I thought the racetrack was unbelievable considering what I've seen from that place over the last 8, 9, 10 years. Three different winners, 3 good races, 3 good race tracks, a lot of storylines coming out of that. And, had some fun up in the booth, of course. We had Bell up there on Saturday. He did a fantastic job. And Carson Hocevar really surprised me up there on Friday. I've kind of told a few people this, but when he got up there, I was like, hey, I don't know how much you watch or who you know, which drivers you know. And he goes, oh, I know all of them. Don't you worry. The only one that confuses me is Kerry Madsen because that's Schuerenberg's old ride. And I was like, this guy knows ball. Like, he knows what he's talking about. So, that was fun to have those 2 guys up in the booth. And the rest of the time, I thought we had some good action out on the track.
Yeah, I remember Sam the last time he ran Chili Bowl. I think we were in a race with Hocevar then when he wasn't really a big name at all. So he's been around the dirt for a bit. Sam, you obviously went World of Outlaw racing this week there at your home state. Started off decent, and then obviously it went to shit. Can you take us through your weekend?
Yeah, first night, we weren't too bad. I think we were like 9th quick or something. Just left a little bit out there in qualifying. And then in the heat, we lost 1 spot on the start there and almost got a spot there at the end, but didn't make the dash and had to start 13th in the feature. And I think we got up to like 7th or 8th at one point and then kind of started fading once it got a little slicker there towards the end. But we gained a little bit of knowledge that first night and got to take some pretty good notes. Came out the next night really, really fast. And I think when we went out, we set quick time by like over 0.3 of a second. And then it just looked like to me the track slowly got faster and faster and faster. And ultimately we ended up 6th quick and then ran 2nd in the heat to gravel. The dash ran 5th. And then, obviously the catastrophic events happened right there. Right before the B main started, and that was the end of the night.
So obviously, the official that was killed was Billy Hurt. He's actually an ASCS official who was there because the ASCS wasn't racing, so he went to Kennedale. Could you just? I'm terrible at tributes, but could you just tell people a little bit about Billy?
Yeah, I think a lot of people that would do a job like Billy does, I don't feel like they get, the notoriety or the recognition that they ever deserve. It's unbelievable to me, the amount of people's lives he touched. Like you talk to anybody and I haven't found a person that's ever said anything negative about him. And I raced with Billy. I mean, the last 2 full years we were on ASCS tour, he was at every race, he was kind of getting into where he was filling in some for the Outlaws when he could and doing stuff like that. But what a lot of people don't know about Billy is that was all the equipment that he would bring was his own equipment. He was really invested into what he did, and he really enjoyed it. It's unbelievable. I don't think, I think the guy would do it for free, if it didn't cost him anything to get up and down the road. Man, the guy just, like I told my wife, I felt really bad on the way home, and I mean, I still do now, but it really hit me pretty hard. Sick to my stomach. And I told my wife on the way home, I said, man, what's crazy is, those guys are out here to save us, and we're the guys that are being dumb, and the guys that should be, the guys that should be at risk, and the guys that should be getting hurt. And to have it to happen to a guy, as selfless as him and there for our safety, it just punched me in the gut really, really hard, and probably going to take quite a while for the whole racing community to get over something like this. I know it's definitely hard on me, and, I wouldn't call Billy like a personal, like real close friend of mine, but man, probably one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet, and just to not just the racing community, I would think it'd be a big blow to anybody that he has touched through his life. It's just an amazing person, and definitely gone way too soon.
Chase, you and I were talking before, as with every shitty thing, there's normally some positive you can find, and that is Jerry Myers, the other official injured. They've actually started a GoFundMe for him. When I last saw, they were asking for 13 grand. They're at 11 when I saw. I think then we checked and it was 25. You're saying it's over 30,000 now, and they were asking for 13?
Well, when I first saw it, the goal was $5,000. And then when I checked maybe a few hours ago, it was at like 29,000. That was how much they had raised. And the new goal was 45,000. So to go from a goal of 5,000 and be over or nearly 30,000, just is pretty unbelievable. The racing community. I'm sure a lot of those people donating to that probably never even met Jerry Myers, but they know the Outlaws. They know how important it is to have good safety officials out there, and Jerry was one of the best ones, man. I mean, when I was at the Outlaws, I worked with him, 2 years, I think, 2 or 3 years when I was there, or I don't know. I don't know if he was there. I think I might have been there a little bit longer than him. Well, until I left, obviously, but. Yeah, it's crazy to see the amount of people been donating to that. I think I saw TSR, put $5,000 towards the GoFundMe. So that is absolutely awesome. A lot of drivers obviously donating, which is cool to see because those drivers, they know how important it is to have a good safety official out there that knows what he's doing. Jerry was, if a guy wrecked, man, he was on it. He was the first one there every single time, and went through all the protocols and whatnot to make sure it was done right. So Jerry, hilarious guy, always was the life of the party when I was over there at the Outlaws. And, I know a lot of people that can do a pretty good Jerry Myers impersonation, but yeah, I mean, pretty incredible to see the outreach that GoFundMe has gotten. And hopefully, he's back on his feet here sooner rather than later. And I'm sure he'll come right back and be right back at it. One of the best officials that we have out there on the national tours.
So, the World of Outlaws, Sam, you were obviously racing with him at Kennedale on the first night. A guy that you talk a lot about and really, really respect, Bill Baylog, was about that close to picking up the Outlaw win. What were your thoughts on that race and the Bill leading it and the general battle that there was?
I think, that place that night was probably about the best racetrack that place could have. I mean, it was all the way to the fence, all the way to the tires in the infield, as wide as that place can get. And it was just, honestly, for the fans, I mean, I don't think they could ask for a better surface. It had enough to where guys were risking it a lot to run the top. The top was eating cars up, and and it was so wide and slick across the middle, and the bottom is real tight to the bottom, is one of those stop and go type bottoms. I mean, as a fan, I don't think you could ask any more out of Kennedale Speedway than that. I mean, they gave us the best surface they possibly could. It didn't lay rubber. And compared to the year before, we laid rubber the first night and it was super rough and heavy the second. So they found the in-between there, and they did a really good job. And the second night, maybe it would have been much of the same. I think maybe we got a little too carried away on water, but I think feature time, it probably was going to widen out and probably would have been okay. We had a little hole in 1 and 2, but I think other than that, I think we probably could have got it a little bit wider in 3 and 4. They did a really good job with the surface, I think, all week long. Considering the amount of wind and that we had. And for Bill, what can you say? Like, I think last year you got lapped there. So to come back this year and be contending for a win was definitely next level. And it wasn't for the lack of trying, because, if you saw him coming across the line, his right rear's up on the wall. So he was definitely giving it all he had.
Chase, I know you run a lot of numbers. One thing that I have strongly believed and said over the last little while is that Bill Balog, I believe, has easily one of the elite short track programs in the country. Do you think that's accurate to say, and do you think this was more proof of that?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously coming from IRA country, they don't really have any half miles up there. I'd say the biggest track they got is probably Angel Park, maybe. But whenever you show up to a short track with the Outlaws right now, you know that he's going to be one of those guys that's up there contending, especially when it's as slick as it is right there at they had at Kennedale. I didn't get to watch. We were racing at the same time. I saw the highlight reel of the last lap, which was just electric. Like Sam said, he's on top of the wall, trying to get there as quick as he could, and obviously Gravel able to make around him. But Balog is, he got off to a slow start, which Volusia is not, historically been a track where he's really, put it all together. But they go to these tracks 3/8 and smaller, and it's not like he's slow on the half miles, right? They made the Knoxville Nationals last year. Has zero luck at Eldora every time he goes there, and almost won the National Open last year. So. But the small tracks are obviously his bread and butter, and he just showed again at Kennedale that he's going to be a force to be reckoned with when it comes to those guys racing on the smaller tracks this year.
Sam, all year we really, really waited and anticipated seeing Buddy Kofoid run the half miles at Volusia early in the year to see if he could challenge David Gravel for the championship. Obviously, with the crash at Kennedale, that has put a big damper on his championship hopes, along with the provisional at Volusia. If you're Buddy, what do you do now, and how do you recover?
I think they just stay the course. They've showed plenty of speed. I don't think I honestly wouldn't be worried if I was them. I don't feel like David's as strong this year as he started off last year. I think they're just a tick off somewhere, wherever that may be, I don't know. But, he came out of the gate last year a lot stronger than he has this year. But, I'm not saying they're slow by any stretch of the imagination. I still think they're the car to beat, but I just don't think he is as, you don't have to think about it. He's just not as dominant this year as he started off last year. So I don't think he's going to have the padding through the middle of the summer that he did last year. And then the guy that we're really leaving out is Carson Macedo, because he's right there. He's right at it. His average finish is about as good as anybody's right now, and I think Buddy's plenty fine. He's one of the fastest cars every night, if not the fastest car most nights. So I don't think he has anything to worry about at all. I think it'll play out fine. And if Gravel was off to the tear he was last year, I'd be really concerned. But he's not off to that start this year, so I think Buddy's in an okay position.
Chase, do you think it's realistic for Buddy to get back in this championship, or do you think it's time to ring the panic bell?
I mean, I think your hand is close to the bell, right? I mean, it ain't looking good. He's 70 points behind. I know it's only been 6 races, but we've said that the last 2 years, and it looked like he was going to make it. Like he was going to get out of Volusia and be close. And what was that? Was it the last race there when that the engine or whatever, he had all those mechanical problems and had to use a provisional, right? And then didn't even get to start the race. So he was 1 race away from leaving Volusia within 10, 15, maybe even lower than that points. And then he does, or has what happens to him at Kennedale. Now it's like, holy cow! I mean, if you were putting money on him in the futures to win the championship, you're probably not feeling too good right now. But Sam does have a good point that David's not off to an incredibly hot start yet, or as of right now. I think it would have paid a lot of money in Vegas to say that Gravel would win a race till the 6th race of the year, and he almost didn't win, right? I mean, he barely got him at the line, right? So, if I'd be a little bit worried if I'm Buddy, because just looking at the history of the series over the last 2 years, it's going to be really hard to climb back from that. But on the other hand, Carson, man, he's looking really good. I think all this talk about Buddy kind of overtaking him as the next guy to beat Gravel, I think that might have lit a fire under him here, and he's looked like almost the best car. I think he's looked better than Gravel overall so far these first 6 races. He's only a couple points behind.
I feel like you guys read the layout because I was going with Macedo next. Around Volusia time, someone close to his team expressed that team was feeling pretty insulted that people were kind of passing up and kind of forgetting about him and kind of thinking about Buddy. Sam, do you think people lit a fire under their ass? And I know you'd even commented last year that they seem to have lost something. Do you think they found it, and do you think they're ready to give Gravel a run for his money?
I don't really think you got to light a fire under any of these guys, to be honest. I mean, everybody that's racing out there that has a legitimate shot of winning the championship, the fire should already be there. They've got a really strong team. They've had a strong team. I just don't think stuff was clicking for them last year that they wanted to click for them. In racing, when things don't just go your way, they don't go your way. And, I mean, that can happen night after night after night. And you can have one of the fastest cars, and sometimes it doesn't matter. So I think this year, I think of remembering last year, like his dash draws were like last row of the dash numerous amounts of times. And you guys know as well as I do, starting back in these dashes, I mean, with all these good cars we have now, it's just really hard to make any ground up. So I think, his dash draws have been a little bit better this year. Obviously that's helped. And I think the race car has been a little bit better. Carson's not coming right off an injury either. There's just a lot of variables that they have probably stacked better in their direction this year. And I think it's just got the team starting off on a better note than they did last year. And I'd like to see, how it plays out throughout the year if they can, if they can kind of keep David a little colder than he was last year and those guys get a little hotter. I mean, there's no telling. I mean, and if Buddy starts picking it back up and doesn't have any of these DNFs, it could be a really solid 3-car battle to the end.
Chase, with Buddy, we knew there was definite weaknesses in his program that needed fixing. Carson is great on half miles. The JJR 41 team, time trial's great. Where are the spots you think the 41 team might be able to pick up on gravel, or where do you think this battle's going to be decided?
I don't think there's many weaknesses at all with that team. I think they've got some really good guys working on the car, and they've been together. I think that full team has been together now for a year or two, which is obviously very important. We've seen that with Gravel winning multiple championships now, Rico winning his championship. That team been together for a long time. Of course, Brad's team was together for a super long time as well. So I don't really know where they can make up ground. You're not going to make up ground on David in qualifying, right? I mean, after the first 5 races, he was on pace for 84 quick times. If you put it over the whole season, I mean, literally, that's what it was. He was quick time every single race, but you're not going to beat him in qualifying. on over the course of an entire season. I just think it comes down to who has the least amount of issues on the car, whether that's going to be an issue like we saw with Buddy, where whatever happened, I can't remember, it was 2 weeks ago, and I've had a lot of things happening over the last 2 weeks. Whatever happened with Buddy's car doesn't happen to Carson's car, or doesn't happen to David's car, or you don't have some freak accident on the racetrack where you run into the back of a lap car and spin out, or something like that happens, right? So that's where I think that you can make up ground, is where you just hope that you're not the guy that has one of these issues that is kind of out of your control. Because at this point, I mean, the only thing that I think David really has on Carson is qualifying on a more consistent basis. I'm not saying that Carson's bad at qualifying by any means, but I'm just saying David is more consistent than Carson is. And that's a proven fact over the last 3 or 4 years, So whoever just doesn't wreck or have something dumb go wrong, I mean, I feel like that's kind of going to be the deciding factor here.
One thing that happened that Sam kind of talked to me in private about that I'm going to be curious to watch. I won't really have you comment on this, Chase, but after Bike Week, Sam, you thought it was pretty interesting that the Outlaws had a chance to kind of wait for Buddy. They could have run the other feature before and kind of given Buddy time to fix all his issues, and they didn't. Do you think we're going to see the Outlaws put everyone else in this position? Do you think this was a one-time fluke thing where it just worked out like that? Or do you think this is the case now where Buddy's team can be pretty vigilant on this?
Well, I truly thought it wasn't, I just noticed it in my head. I thought, man, they should have just put that factory stock feature before their A, and then that would have gave Buddy plenty of time. But I don't, obviously you don't want to play favoritism or anything like that, and I don't think it was anything that they tried to do. I just think the way it played out, my thinking is it could have happened where Buddy could have lined up, and ended up probably making the call if they did run the factory stock feature before. But I mean, they didn't change their schedule at all. They went along with their schedule. It's not like they changed it so he would miss the A. And I don't think they're going to, purposely put any guys in a bad position like that. I just kind of looked at it, thought, man, it's not like the factory stocks were slow. They only had 10, 12 cars. It would have been a quick feature, and it wouldn't have really killed the program too bad, and probably would have gave those guys after the B a little more time to get ready too. But you know how it goes. High Limit, they want to get a show done fast. The Outlaws want to get a show done fast, for the viewers at home, the fans in the stands. They don't want to keep everybody there all night long. So I understand both sides of it. Definitely don't think it was, on purpose by any means. I just think, if they needed to, they could have waited, I think.
So, Chase, you've gotten through it. We haven't had you say anything incriminating, and now we're on to the High Limit stuff. Night one was one of the best races I've seen in a long time. What were your thoughts on that race? Gio leading early, Day looking great, Larson getting them both, and then an incredible finish. What were your thoughts up in the booth and then after?
Yeah, I mean, I just thought that the hats off to the guys that were working on the racetrack. I mean, I said it earlier that I've went to Vegas quite a few times and have never seen the track like that 3 straight nights. Maybe the first night was better than the second one, but I mean, there was 2 lanes to work with every single night. And that finish at the end, of course, was a great way to finish off the program. 96 1,000ths of a second between those two. It was fun to watch them have to try and kind of slow down to hit the bottom, of course, and then with that track there, it's hard to tell on video if you were just watching on flow, but the top really shelves off, right? So there's a lane and a half. Yeah, there's a lane and a half next to the wall where it's just flat ground. So if you go over the edge of the cushion there, it'll really, really mess you up. We saw it a few times in the dash, I think, on Thursday with Kerry and Tim's. So it was a fine line to run it correctly, especially in 3 and 4 on the first 2 nights, and then to hit the bottom correctly in 3 and 4, which I feel like 3 and 4 was kind of the place where all the passes were being made throughout the weekend. But to hit the bottom in 3 and 4, I mean, you really had to keep the car pitched down. you couldn't slide up too much, or you could tell, like you could visually see when a guy missed it and he's spinning the tires and he's not getting down the straightaway. So I just thought the track was so good, and that makes me excited to go back for next year. And I think that the fans that were there, obviously they were treated to a really good show all 3 nights, but specifically that first one, great finish, and great way to kick off the year.
Sam, I don't know. Did you actually get a chance to see that race? I know you would have been.
Yeah, I watched. I watched parts and pieces of it for sure, and I would agree. Like, I think the track was phenomenal for down there. I know all the times we've raced down there. One time you get there, it'd be super heavy. Another time, just dry, tons of rocks. Just probably not the ideal place that you'd want to go race, but you go to Vegas because it's Vegas, And I think that's just honestly, the track, I think, had a lot to do with Brad's involvement now. He's not driving a race car. He can focus more on stuff. And, Brad's a really smart guy. And I think that, if you let a guy like that get involved more and doesn't have to focus on driving a race car, I think that's going to show up all year long for High Limit, to be honest. I think every place they go, having another guy to make good decisions on what we should do to the track next or anything like that, I think having a guy like him involved is very huge. And it's a shame to see him not in a race car, because obviously he'd be one of the best guys to be out there in a suit as well. But trying his hand at doing this deal and being involved on that side of it every night is going to be huge for these guys going forward. I think they're going to have a lot of really good racetracks, and to have feedback from a guy like him that's done it so much, he's going to know what lane needs to speed up, what lane needs to slow down, and probably have enough insight to say, hey, man, I think we should do this. This is going to be good for the race. And, any series is definitely is a bonus to any series to have a guy like that, helping make those decisions.
Yeah, he was busy all week, man. I mean, he was there for a few days before. Scott Woodhouse was there too, who does a lot of the track prep stuff out in California for some different racetracks. And then they had I can't remember his last name, but Chuck, he was there too. I mean, they nailed it, And one thing that kind of flew under the radar or didn't get talked about too much, but Wednesday, the day before the race, or maybe it was Tuesday. No, it was Wednesday. The day before the first race, we had like 20. Every single employee with High Limit Racing went onto the track with Home Depot buckets and picked up rocks off the track. I mean, and there were some monsters out there. I mean, like I said, 20 people. Like 10 went counterclockwise and 10 went clockwise, and we met in the middle, and it was a 2.5, 3 hour thing. I mean, Kyle Larson was picking up rocks. Caitlin Larson was picking up rocks. Owen Larson was picking up rocks. I mean, it was a huge group effort to try and clean up the rocks, and I'm glad we did, because there was some monsters out there. And so I think that was also a plus. Obviously, there's still some rocks in there. It's going to take a year or two of doing that to, or maybe even more than that to get them all out. But I thought that was my back still hurts a little bit, right? But I think it was definitely for the better for the racing.
Yeah, I was taking photos. I've taken them the last 2 years there, and it blows me away. Like, I walk, all the photographers are basically on that inside wall, and like every 20 feet is like buckets just filled with rocks and filled and filled and filled. And then you look on the track and you're like, holy crap, they don't look like they made a dent. But yeah, they did. Guys were leaving hurt last year. Guys weren't leaving hurt this year. Another thing, we always praise Kyle Larson, and, it gets old. We get accused of being all over him. But what blew me away in that race chase was early in the race, Kyle did not look great. And he made some adaptations in his line and actually started diamonding 1 and 2 and was really picking up some speed there. Is that something probably people underestimate, is just how good Kyle adapts to a racetrack throughout a race and where to be?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's not many guys out there that can, maybe at the beginning of the race they're not running too hot. It looks like they're kind of lost out there. But there are a few guys that they can switch things up, and maybe for the first 10 laps they look like dog water, but then the last 15 they figure out whatever it is with the car, whether the car's not handling right, but if he puts it over here or handles way better, or maybe the car was handling good over here at the beginning of the race and then now all of a sudden it's going away. I'm not exactly sure, but he obviously is very, very good. And there's, like I said, there's quite a few guys that have the ability to make that happen like he does. But it was definitely entertaining. That is for sure, to watch him search around and try some different things and see what works. And man, I kind of wish that race went one more lap to see what would have happened between him and Corey. But it was just another Kyle Larson, him doing it, Kyle Larson things, right? I mean, that's all you can see at this point.
Sam, on the last podcast, we talked a lot about Gio, and he started off the season with a really, really impressive run. Obviously, I was hanging out with Dom all weekend. After the race, he was pretty hard on himself. He felt like he had the car to win, and felt like he just didn't know where he needed to be in 3 and 4, and wasn't really sure how to handle traffic once the traffic started getting off turn 4 well. What did you see from Gio's first week of high limit racing?
I mean, I don't really feel like he had the car to win. I think maybe if he goes back and looks at it, he would probably realize that maybe he didn't. I think if he put his car in different positions at different times, which it's always easy to say, from watching, but, it was pretty obvious the 14 and the 57 were a little bit ahead of everybody on that particular night. But I think they should be proud of what they came out with this weekend, based upon what they started with down earlier with the Outlaws. I think they should be proud of what they came out with. I think they came out of the box. Obviously, this is what they were setting up for, is high limit. They came out of the box with a lot of speed. He was good all weekend long. And for a new team, everybody's new together there. I think they did a good job. I think that they have a lot to build on. And for a new team like that, obviously Gio can get it done and Prutzman can get it done. Like they've got a really good race team to start off that decent. I don't think it's anything to hold their head about. I mean, I know a guy like Gio wants to win just as bad as any other guy, but I think they're off to a really good start, better than I thought they would be based on their performance earlier. So, I mean, I feel like they've got a lot to work with going forward, and I think they're definitely going to be the real deal. I think they'll definitely be a championship contender if they start off this well right out of the box.
Obviously, that car was pretty popular in Vegas. A lot of people seem to really like that Chili sponsorship. Chase, what were your thoughts on his first weekend of high limit racing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was a little worried after Talladega, right? I mean, and that's just how the world is these days, right? I mean, after Dirt Car Nationals, everybody's like, oh, this guy's season's over, right? He's done. Or after night 1, this guy's season's over. I just feel like the world we live in right now, you're like, man, like, you had one bad night, like, this ain't going to be good, right? So 14th at Talladega, I wasn't really sure what to expect going to Vegas, but, I mean, they were right out of the gate. They were good. So they got a great team, obviously. They got the right guys in place. They got all the right resources. They've got all the right parts and pieces to make it happen. And Gio's a good driver. He just passed the 1-year anniversary of his last win. I don't think we're going to need to wait much longer for him to win his next one. And I think he's going to get, a handful. Five wins, I think, is definitely attainable with how they ran this last weekend. 3 top 10s, obviously led 14 laps or so of that feature on Thursday. And he looks comfortable, and it's not a chassis. That one thing also is not a chassis that Eric Prutzman is familiar with, and it's not a chassis that Gio's familiar with. They run the Schnee Lawson or the Schnee Lawson, whatever it is, which is what Gio ran. I guess he did run it last year, of course, with when he filled in for Sunshine, but before that he wasn't in one of those cars, and Eric's never worked with those cars before either. So it was definitely a very impressive first 3 nights. And at the same time, I think that team is expecting those guys to go out there and have those type of results. And so it's good that they were able to make it happen. And I'm curious to see how they'll go for the next 3 over here at Central Arizona.
So Corey Day won night 2. I was talking to my dad. I found that to be an unusually hard race to follow live. I didn't even see Danny make the pass for the lead. Could you kind of give us your thoughts on night 2 there?
You talking to me or Chase?
Oh, sorry, Chase. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember all three of them, but yeah, I mean, I think that Corey, obviously, you could argue he was the car to beat on Thursday, and then for him to come out on Friday and just dominate was not a huge surprise. We had that moment early in the race. Larson did a 360, kept going, and so that really helped Corey's chances, right? Because the guy that just beat him one night before, he's going to be coming from way behind and never really recovered to be in contention for the win, of course. But yeah, Corey, man, it's pretty crazy, right? To see him go out there and run as well as he did this weekend. Probably should have 3 podiums, had the axle break, of course, on the final night. But it's just wild to me that, you know, you put Trey Starks and Justin Sanders and Darren Pittman and Spencer Baston in that car, and it just doesn't really look like it handles very well for them. And then you put Corey right back in it, and bam, whatever it is, whatever that combo is, it works perfectly. And he is a lot of fun to watch. And, you know, it was cool to have that kind of, I thought that like the winners we had over the weekend, considering it was NASCAR weekend, considering you had a lot of people there for the first time ever, and I mean you could tell who was there for the first time, right? But you know, you have the 2 NASCAR guys. You had Larson win, of course, Cup champ, blah blah blah. Then you got the new guy coming in with Corey Day, and then you had a guy maybe you never heard of, right? If you're going to a sprint car race for the first time, and Aaron Reutzel, and Reutzel's, you know, kind of talking smack to Corey Day in victory lane, right? I mean, I thought it was a really cool 3 different guys to win for the crowd that was there. You know, just try and, you know, maybe speed up the process of getting them more into our sport. So, yeah, Corey Day, you got it wrote down here on our notes. He dominated. I mean, that's all you could really say. So I'm sure that's not the last time we'll see him win in 2026 with High Limit.
Sam, could you kind of elaborate on something that Chase said there? Like we talk about this, you know, some drivers don't fit in certain cars, certain people don't feel like we haven't really seen someone rip in the 14. Could you kind of talk about like the different feels drivers are looking for and what you see in Corey that maybe you think makes his driving style hard for other drivers to adapt to when they get in his car?
I mean, when we did our pod with Larson, I mean, Larson basically said it's like the only guy that looks like me out there. Like, there's not going to be a lot of guys that can get in those cars, whether it be the 57 or the 14, that can do what those 2 guys do, to be honest. And, you know, if there's a package that fits those guys, it's probably not going to fit a lot of other guys in the country. And I think that's probably the only thing I could say that would say, man, you know, because I don't think you can really compare those 2 guys to a lot of other guys, you know. I don't think whatever Aaron Reutzel's running is going to fit Rico, and I don't think vice versa, whatever Rico has is going to fit Reutzel. I don't think these guys are, you know, running the same packages or anything like that. And I think more drivers are more, you know, like, you know, probably more like something like what Rico has or some of those other guys. But the style that Larson and Corey Day run with, I mean, I just think that you could probably give them a bag of shit sometimes and they'd be fine. But certain surfaces, obviously, you need a little bit better race car. But yeah, I don't think Larson's car was very good this week. I just think he did a really good job, and obviously he messed up Friday night. But I just think they were lacking a little bit. But it just shows you how good he is. You know, he's still able to make up for it when it's maybe not all there. And I think Corey was really good, you know, all 3 nights, to be honest. And I think he was I'm not going to say he was good enough to say win the final night. I feel like if they had a situation there towards the end, he could have maybe put himself in position. But, you know, to answer your question, I just think that the reality is there that, you can you can see it. You don't have to. I mean, you can put all these other guys in this race car, and they're all really good race car drivers, but they're not Corey Day. And you know, you don't have to like him. You don't. It doesn't really matter if you like him or not. I mean, he's that good. So I think you can put a lot of really good race car drivers in his car, and they're not going to be able to perform the way that he does. That's my honest opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that because, like, I said Justin Sanders, right? Like, he got in the 14 last year, and I think maybe had like 2 top 10s, maybe, or like 1. But it was crazy when you put Sanders in the 87. He looked like a top 3 driver with high limit. Like, it was crazy. I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but it's just crazy to see the difference between those 2 cars and how much different he ran on the track. So,
And to back up what you're saying, Chase, I remember Sanders telling us last year that Reutzel's car, when he filled in for him with the broken nose or whatever, he said that was like the best car he'd ever driven. Like, he said that was like the best he ever felt in a race car. That's why I actually believed later in the year when he got in the car, or last year when he got in the car, I assumed he was going to kick ass, because I knew Justin's feedback from his first time in the car. I believe he had to pull off early in the feature for some reason. It was like killing him. Like, he felt like, man, if he could have run that race, it would have been great for him, but obviously that didn't work out. And obviously, Reutzel won night number 3. Not as entertaining as the other 2 races, but certainly eventful. Chase, what were your thoughts on Reutzel picking up his first win of the year? And ultimately, I believe, leading with the points lead, correct?
yeah, he's got a 2-point lead, I believe, on Tanner Thorson heading into Arizona this weekend. But yeah, Reutzel, he kind of looked like Corey Day on night 2, right? I mean, as far as the domination goes, until, that late yellow, oh, hey, hang on, we got a special guest here.
What are you doing in here?
Oh, no.
What do you do with Hickle?
Yeah, Hickle's gone.
Is he not smart enough to run the computer on the road?
Mike can't hear you guys. It's in my earphones.
Yeah.
Mike, where's my chicken
I ain't
casserole?
bringing you no dinner. You got to get it yourself.
That was the deal. Mike was going to come in here and bring me my chicken casserole we're making, but he decided not to. But anyway, Reutzel, yeah, he was good. He was very good. But it was kind of weird because he started off slow on Thursday. And when I say slow, he was 10th place. But, considering how he looked in Australia, how he finished last year, I was expecting him to be maybe a top 5 guy every single night. So that 10th place run was a little weird. Then he ended up 2nd. Then he obviously wins. So right now, it looks like it's Reutzel's championship to win at this point. And Rico was 7th and 3rd, I think. Rico's 10 or something points behind. So Reutzel's right back to where he was at last year, and now he's going to Arizona where he won a race last year as well. So we'll see. We'll see if the speed continues here.
Sam, I think when people think of Reutzel, they think of a hard charger, the kind of guy who's going to be really good when the track's gripped up. But he's actually always typically been very, very good in Arizona. I remember a race you had with him at Yuma that was an absolute war. What makes Aaron so good on that type of racetrack, even though he's more of a charging driving style?
What makes him so good is he just really doesn't have a weakness. There's not a track condition that he's bad at. And he's really good when you have to hustle the car. I feel like if I could say anything, I feel like he's really got a grip on what he needs to feel in the race car. And he really has a good understanding of what he's got to do to get that. And I think that's what a lot of guys struggle with. Right now, I feel like it's a really hard line to get right. And I feel like whatever he's doing, he's being able to get the feel that he needs night after night after night. Like Saturday night, where he was able to just drive across the middle and come off in the middle. There wasn't another car that could do that. And like I say, for him to be able to do that, he figured some stuff out through the nights. And like I say, like to get that, guys search forever to try to find that. That's what you want. And they're able to do that right now. And that's not good news for the rest of the competition. Like if he's already doing that and they're in our first weekend, if he can start doing that, like these guys don't have a chance. Like he's going to be steps ahead of everybody right now. The other guy that's been able to do that about as good as anybody looked like all weekend was Thorson. It looked like his car would work a lot of places, that other guys wouldn't. So he's also came out. I don't know why we haven't talked about him yet, but he's also came out, I would say, night after night, probably the best average car all weekend long. The car just looks so much better gripped up in areas of the track that other guys aren't. I think in the feature you give Reutzel clean air. Yeah, he's probably going to take off on those guys and make smart decisions through traffic. I'm sure they didn't want to see the caution come out for McCarl there, because it looked like Thorson was going to have Reutzel dead to rights. He kind of had Reutzel in a spot where he didn't really know where to go on that restart, so he took advantage of it. And honestly, I think he would have drove away if he got out the clean air. But obviously he got a chance to get back out front, and Reutzel did a good job to finish off the race.
Now, Chase, obviously there's a bunch of people on Twitter that were pretty upset, that felt like Reutzel got nailed for working too long in the infield. The horn had gone off. There was clearly people that would hurt it. There's other people saying they hadn't. I've actually talked to Tony in a thing we're going to be doing separately from this. What were your takeaways from what was going on there, and what are your thoughts on what happened?
Yeah, it was definitely, obviously not ideal, of course, but, from the sounds of it, people down in the infield, I listened to Jeremy Elliott's little live stream the other night, and I heard his 90 at 9, and, he was in the infield, his photographer was in the infield, they didn't hear the horn, there was a couple teams that didn't hear the horn besides Carrick and Reutzel. Both those teams, obviously, they didn't hear it, they were the ones that got penalized at first, and then from the sounds of it, I want to say that the 21 Tarleton car, I heard, didn't hear the horn as well. So, it was just a situation where I think Jeremy mentioned that one of the officials with high limit was pushing a car back to the pit area, and so one of the horns that would have normally been used was, back in the pits outside of turns 1 and 2. So, just kind of a bad combination of things to where, it led to a situation where, people are going to be upset about it on social media, of course. And, how it kind of went down from my point of view was, I was in the announcer's booth, which was 2 booths away from where Mike Hess was at and Anthony Carini, our scorer. And so, under that open red, Tony and I are talking, Bell and I are talking, then Tony starts talking, and Anthony Carini comes in and he says, hey, we got 2 guys that are that were working past the time, and it was Carrick and it was Reutzel, and of course I'm like, wow, I have to be the guy that says this, and I don't want to be that messenger, but obviously that's kind of my job, and so I say it, and then Carini goes back into to where Mike's at, and then it was maybe 48 seconds later he comes in and says, hey, actually, sounds like a bunch of guys couldn't hear the horn, and so they had to reverse the call. And so then that was might have been worse. For me, it might have been like an even more awkward situation the second time when we had to undo it, So, it was the first race of the year, I feel like you're not going to be perfect on night 1, night 2, night 3 of the very first week. So I got some stuff for talking shit about this that I was going to save, so I'm not going to talk much longer, and we'll just wait till the end of the show. So
okay. I did actually want JJ on the pod because JJ was a driver that didn't actually hear the horn. So I'd wanted JJ to be on there and be like, yes, we could not hear the horn. The other thing I noticed is it was a new horn this year, and it looked like it was struggling. You were probably up in the grandstands, but they had some struggles with it in the pits. There was a much louder horn than usual, but every now and then it would kind of die off. So I could have seen an issue there. Sam, to me, this wasn't like a major issue. Like, could you kind of explain to people, like when we get those 2-minute work areas, that's not usually a deal where everyone's like trying to pile in all these jobs and tasks, is it? It's kind of a deal where like a lot of times you're standing around for the last 30 seconds or 20 seconds. And I noticed no crews or drivers were talking about it after the race. Can you kind of, am I right? Is that not really a big deal to people?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest deal is that Chase said he's penalized, and then a few seconds later says he's not. Like, that's the biggest deal, to be honest. Like, if that never gets said and we wait half a minute or whatever to not say it, then, it's not even an ordeal, because it's not like, oh man, everybody's watching on flow and, oh, Reutzel's still working on his car. Like, it obviously wasn't an issue, and I don't think any other team would have an issue. I mean, you're going to have 2 or 3 guys that are going to bitch about anything, but I think for the most part, everybody was probably okay with the decision to not penalize him. I would assume that's fair. Does it put a bad look to High Limit? Yeah, it kind of does, but you're going to have people that bitch, and you're going to have people that don't bitch, and at the end of the day, they made the right call, so they did. I mean, just like I say, if it doesn't get announced to the world, nobody even knows about it.
So basically what you're saying is this is completely Chase's fault.
Yeah.
Well, obviously it's Anthony Carini's fault.
Yeah, I'll let him know he's down in the living room right now after this is over. But I was just thinking to myself, like, man, if I would have just done a top 10 rundown of where they're running at, he would have came back in and told me, oh no, call's reversed, and I didn't, obviously. So I'll take 62% of the blame. 62.
Okay, so now that that's settled and you've been properly thrown under the bus, there was another pretty controversial, but not really controversial moment, and that was the Peck Schuerenberg incident. From up in the booth, what do you see, Chase?
Well, live, I saw a massive incident. Obviously, I mean, that was just huge. At the time when it's happening so fast, live in person, you're kind of like, oh my, like, surely they met in the middle or something, and maybe Peck got good drive off the bottom, and he kind of came up, and Schuerenberg coming out at the same time, and then you see the replay, and I mean, I feel like it's pretty black and white, whose fault it was, and I think Hunter, he went back and watched the replay, and we saw him, say something to Peck on Twitter, and it sounds like they called each other, and it's all worked out, and I think Christopher said something about it on the Flow broadcast too. He was like, looks like Hunter just came down and got into the side of Justin. And they were racing each other super hard right before that too. Like, they were both like kind of throwing short sliders on each other and not messing around, and then it ends in disaster. So, yeah, that's kind of what I saw, and I feel like that's kind of what everybody saw. So,
Sam, what was your view on it? Because I have a kind of a take on it, and it's kind of a take that might get me in trouble, so I'm curious what you saw.
No, and like Chase is right, they were racing each other really, really hard, and I think, yeah, Hunter was trying to block the next move. I mean, you even heard, even the night before, when Timms got clipped by Reutzel because Timms was coming down, after he wheelied off of 4, he even said he was trying to get down to protect the next slider, right? Well, I think a lot of guys were trying to do that, but Timms took full blame of it at that time. But I think Schuerenberg was doing the same thing. I think, honestly, what he was more mad about, since they were racing each other so hard, I think he just thought, Peck got the best of him or something, because obviously he jumped out of the car and he was extremely mad. And I mean, I'm sure, yeah, obviously after he looked at the replay and he saw what everybody else saw, then obviously he wrote an apology or whatever the case. But I don't know, like, we're going to see a lot more of this stuff. Like, the more and more we race, I don't know, guys' mentality now is a lot different than it used to be. I said it before a couple weeks ago. I think I did an interview and they asked me, what was the difference racing back then? Obviously I'm not fucking young anymore, but what was the difference racing back then with guys like Steve Kinzer and Sammy Swindell and these guys, and then racing now? And I said, well, like back then, it wasn't so crucial to get to clean air as quick as you had to. Like you didn't have to get to clean air right away. What did it help? Yeah, for sure. But now, like, it's everything. So guys are doing whatever it takes to get to clean air as fast as they can. And, I guess essentially we're just pissing each other off by doing that and making these decisions. But we all know that if we don't get to clean air first, you're not gonna, it's gonna take you forever to get by that guy if you don't get by him now. So I think, that's just a product of the racing now. We're gonna see stuff like this. I mean, I got in the middle of the feature on Saturday night, I got drove right across the front of my car, about took us out. And I got told, well, that's just how you know how it is now, Sam. That's what I got told. So, it's the mentality of everybody now. It's the mentality of that has come to be accepted. And the reality is it's going to be trashed race cars. It's going to be a lot of things, a lot of upset people, and that's kind of just the way it is right now. I mean, it's not, I don't really have any other words for it than that. I mean, it's hard to say. I don't think there's a quick solution for it. Our rules packages have us kind of trapped. The way the racing is, it's just kind of how it is.
Chase, Sam made an offhand comment that I thought was really, really intelligent on our last episode about this. He said he thinks a lot of people race like this partially because they know they've got a work area and they'll get back out on the track. Do you think there was some truth to what Sam said there, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think definitely a little bit, for sure. But now with High Limit's rule change, I feel like that might go out the door, at least for this series. You only get 1 minute in the work area now if you have a flat. So if you blow the front end out of it, you're not looking too good to get back out there. So, but it's just super aggressive. I mean, everybody is super aggressive. If you're going for the lead, if you're going for the transfer spot, if you're running 10th in the feature, I mean, it is cutthroat on the track. And I wish we had 50 cameras on flow to show every single battle that's going on, because especially at a track like Vegas with how it was super slick, it was 2 lanes, and you really had to be in the grip to make up ground. If you missed it, there was like one corner where Thorson passed 3 cars because they all missed it and he hit it. And I mean, you just can't catch everything, So there's definitely the aggression is turned up to 10. That is for sure in wing sprint car racing right now. And as a driver, I wouldn't want to be involved. I wouldn't want to be out there getting drove straight at from some guys. But as a fan, as an announcer, it's definitely entertaining and fun to watch.
Yeah, Sam kind of covered my take kind of sort of there. I do think you kind of got to acknowledge, and Hunter didn't. Like, that was a chop. That wasn't I'm trying to slide I'm trying to prevent the slider in the next corner. Like, the angle made no sense for that. That was basically my thing on that. Was, come on, dude. You knew you were chopping him.
Yeah, I think the initial move was to chop, and I don't think he realized that Peck would be coming off the corner as fast as he did, because Peck did get a really good run off the corner. So I think that he thought Peck was going to be coming, but I don't think he thought he was going to be coming that fast. So when he saw Peck, his move was to get down and just, his right rear got to his left front way faster than he was planning on. That's what I think. I mean,
yeah. The other thing that I was just giggling about was Hunter did write his I'm sorry tweet, and he did call Peck, but I was just giggling at all the people that were like, man, that was really big of you. That was really good of you. It was like, He had to. If he didn't apologize for that, he was going to get roasted for the rest of his life. That was the most obvious apology ever needed to be given in history.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't have had to give as big of an apology if he didn't get the post-race interview and say the things he said. But, yeah, I mean, it's good that he did own up to it. Obviously, I felt like he kind of had to at some point.
Yeah, once again, Flo and Chase just causing problems and just adding to the drama.
That's exactly right.
So we referred to it earlier. Chase, Tanner Thorson coming into the year, the two big questions were how's he going to run on big tracks and is he going to qualify well? He appeared to address those and has emerged, it looks like, as a title contender. How impressed were you with Tanner this past weekend?
I mean, super, super impressed. You know, I think I might have mentioned it on the broadcast, but he had, I think going into Saturday, he had 89 or 90 career high limit starts and had never been in the top 5 on a half mile, ever. And then he goes out to Vegas and is in the top 5 the only guy in the top 5 all 3 nights. Pretty unbelievable stuff from him, leading the points after night 2. I know it's night 2, but I don't think anybody would have had that on their bingo card with how he's been running on those tracks here the last couple of years. Of course, he had Stevie there, and I don't know what you have to offer Stevie Smith to keep going, to be in Arizona this weekend. What needs to happen to keep him going? Because boy, they look unbelievable. We said Reutzel dominated that third race, but I mean Tanner was making his way to the front. He had one race where it was 12th to 4th, right? But that third night, I mean, that yellow doesn't come out. I don't know if Reutzel wins. I think Thorson could have done everything he needed to do to run the right line and make the right moves to hold him at bay. But it has been so fun to watch that team from where they started at two years ago. I mean, right before the season started in 2024, 2 months before that, they weren't even a thing. It wasn't even a team. And now here they are, looking like definitely, I don't want to say championship contender right now. I think top 5 for sure. I mean, they were 7th in points last year. He had a streak last year where he was 15 top 10s in a row. So the consistency's been there on these smaller tracks. It's been the big track stuff and obviously qualifying, like you mentioned, that have been the issues. And so I am very curious. I think the really big deciding or the big tell will be when he goes to Port Royal. 8 races at Port Royal is a lot. And with how he's been running there last year he ran like 11th or 10th on the final race there. So if he can be top 12, top 10 in all 8 Port Royal races, then he is going to be a problem for these guys this year. I've been a believer in Tanner Thorson for a long time. When he ran USAC, he was so good in USAC with the midgets and in the non-wing cars. And it's just taken a couple years, and now he's got this wing stuff figured out. And it's exciting to see a guy that nobody really maybe was thinking going into the year you think of the championship favorites, right? You think of Rico, you think of Reutzel, you think of Sunshine, maybe Gio's on the outside of that, right? But now you get this guy that no one was expecting to be up there. I know it's only 3 races, but it's exciting, man. And he's definitely, I would say, the top storyline with the series right now after the first weekend.
Chase, this one is just a purely curiosity question that I did not have prepared at all, and I just don't know the answer. Who the heck is Rod Gross?
I'm not really sure. I do know that Tanner told me that he hadn't even met Rod Gross until 2 weeks or something before they started putting cars together. He never even met the guy. They had only texted and phone calls and whatnot. And he goes to the races every now and again. I think I actually met him once last year. But if you go on the third turn and you type in his name, it says he made a National Open start at the Grove. I don't know how true that is. I don't know. It was weird. I looked it up. Maybe he was the car owner and that's why he popped up. But I'm pretty sure it showed him as the driver. That's kind of the only information I've got on him. But boy, he's got to be pretty happy with his investment so far.
So he is a real person.
Oh, he's real. Oh, he's definitely real. I met him. Yep.
Yes. Sam, it's obvious that Tanner has a lot of grip. He clearly had grip when a lot of people didn't have grip. I'm actually different than Chase. I think he's going to be. I think he's going to rip at Arizona. I think he's going to rip at Port Royal. My question is, how do you think he's going to do on the tacky surfaces?
Oh, he'll be fine. He's a gasser. He'll be fine. He won't have any troubles there. I think the biggest thing that they have going for him right now is I think their motor program seems to have turned around, or whatever they found, speed wise there. I think that's huge for them. Qualifying is such a big part of our game, and you got to think about it, man. He was so far behind the 8 ball last year all the time that the best thing that happened to him was that, because it taught him how to race through the fields and deal with dirty air. And, like I hear Kofoid say this all the time, like he feels like his car is very little affected by dirty air anymore. Well, if Tanner had to race in so much, he raced in more dirty air than probably anybody last year. I feel like that's probably helped him a bunch, just because from that vantage point, if he can get his car to work really well in dirty air, which he did because he passed a lot of cars last year, now that he's getting closer to the front, I feel like he's going to be a way more maneuverable car than a lot of guys, just because he's been able to handle dirty air probably more than anybody last year. So I think that's going to just prove even better for him going forward. And obviously Stevie's probably a huge help to him. And obviously I feel like if Stevie feels like he needs to be out there and Tanner feels like Stevie needs to be out there, I figure they're going to make a way for it to happen. So if they make a way for it to happen, I don't think it's going to be, I don't think he's going to struggle without Stevie either, because, Tanner's not dumb, obviously. So, I just think probably having Stevie there, just like any guy, having a guy to reassure you that things are good, or reassure you in maybe some of your decision making, that always helps anybody.
Well, and we mentioned the Port Royal thing, and I mentioned that I think that's going to be the big tell if it's going to be a good season or not. I forgot to mention that, you talk about his motors. He got, I want to say it was one or two motors from Justin Whittall, who obviously runs really well at Port Royal here the last couple of years. So I didn't think about that when I made my first statement, but I still stand by it. I want to see him run top 10, a few times at Port Royal, and then I'll be, on the hype train that he could be contended with Rico and Reutzel.
I don't think that's going to be a problem, to be honest. I think he'll be fine at Port Royal.
So last year, I started to hear rumors of a Chad Boat sprint car. The rumors I'd actually heard were Jason Pursley was going to get into it. And then Pursley obviously got picked up by KKR. And then while I was in the pits at Vegas, the rumor was that Seavey was going to be an Aspire boat car. Chase, that's obviously pretty exciting for you guys. Tony told me today, I believe it's in the press release, it's not a full-time team. But obviously they're showing up in Arizona. What do you think about that?
No, I mean, I think it's awesome. I would say, best friends, really good friends with Logan for a super long time. We raced together back in the day, and I've been asking him for years, like, hey, let's try and, get into the wing stuff, right? And I know he's got a super good deal with Abacus over on the USAC side of things, and, he's doing just fine, and he's kind of, dabbling the late models here and there, but this is a huge opportunity. I've heard some interesting things behind the scenes here that I'm not, I'm not able to talk about here. But if these things do come true, it's going to be crazy. And so hopefully Logan is at the center of those things. And I hope he runs well this weekend. I was looking at SprintCarRatings.com today. He's got 24 Wing 410 starts in his career, right? So he's still very new to this type of racing. But when he's gotten in these cars, I've seen him have some really solid runs. Made the dash one year at Let's Race 2 with the Outlaws in the McGee car, I think. So, he's had some flashes. I think he made a dash at Jacksonville, too, with the Outlaws before. So I'm super excited about that. Yeah, what's that?
I want to say he won a feature at Spoon River in a 410.
Yeah, he won a mower race at Spoon River a couple years ago, too. So, obviously, he is a just extremely talented driver, and it's still crazy to me that he did not get picked up by NASCAR. I'm kind of glad he didn't, but like, I mean, he was doing everything right to be able to get to that level, but I'm glad he didn't because, to have a super talented driver like that in dirt is obviously huge, and I just want to see him be a full time wing guy because I think he has the ability to do it, and maybe this could be the start of it. We'll have to wait and see.
Sam, I already feel like I know your answer because you say every year that anyone that runs up front of the Chili Bowl can wheel a winged sprint car. What are your thoughts on Logan, and what can we expect from him in this ride?
It's just a hard thing to do to come race with its high limit World Outlaws. Doesn't matter. The competition level is so stiff in either series. To come in race with these guys, it's not just about being a great driver. You got to have a really good team. And I think, the team is probably the most important part these days. So, just depending how they unload, I think that's everything. I feel like he's got the tools. I don't think he's gonna be slowing the car down by any stretch of the imagination. I feel like if they unload fast, man, I want to say that one year at Eldora, man, he looked lights out in the McGee car for a while the first night. The second night they weren't as good, but I just think you get a guy like him in a good situation with a good ride. I don't think he's going to have a trouble at all. Arizona is a momentum place, keep a lot of speed up type of deal. So, he knows how to do that. I don't think, he's going to be out of sorts at a place like that at all. I think basically how the team works and how they prepare the race car and how they unload's going to be the story.
Yeah, and he swept Western World last year at Central Arizona. I know it's a non-wing car, but still, he's undefeated at that racetrack in two starts. I also wanted to mention that I think it's cool how Spire's doing this, right? They got the Gio deal with Chili's, and they're bringing their NASCAR sponsors over. They put that freeway insurance on the sprint car. I just kind of like how they're doing that. And I wonder if we'll see more of that later on down the line. If they continue, doing this. But I just like how they're doing that, kind of bringing the big-time sponsors over from the pavement side and putting them on the sprint car. And maybe that'll lead to more on that front as well.
Yeah, what I'm also looking forward to is when we stop this recording and we do the next recording of you telling us what the actual plans are for our $25 Patreon after the pod.
We'll see about that.
So that's it for our episode, but I was kind of stoked there. It sounded like you had some shit to talk, so Chase, fire away with the shit talk.
Well, I feel like every time I come on here, my shit talking is always about some fans, how they, like, my favorite thing now is that the whole horn situation was because Reutzel is the golden boy with High Limit now. Like that's what people are saying on Facebook and Twitter is Reutzel is the gravel of High Limit, which I'm at a loss for words. Like I cannot believe people actually think that and then put it on Facebook or Twitter, whatever it is. That was my shit talking session. That's what I wanted to talk about because if anybody is I feel like if anybody's the golden boy of High Limit, right, it's going to be the defending champion, right? It's going to be Rico. But no, now it's Reutzel. Reutzel's the golden boy. That's what you heard it here first on the Drivers Project. I'm speaking for all those guys out there on Twitter and Facebook, man. Reutzel. He's
Chase,
the golden boy.
I thought I was gonna get more emotion out of you. I thought I was thought I was gonna get some fire here. I was ready to go. I can tell you that my dad and I run a series up here in Canada, and it is hilarious. You have your people that you like and you don't like.
Oh, you're supposed to like all the people that race with you, Daryl.
Well, this is my point. You wouldn't believe, people would say, oh, you hate this person, and we actually love that person. They're, one of the easiest people to deal with. Versus, people that we find incredibly hard to deal with, that people we think they're the golden... It blows me away, the perception versus reality on on what people think. Like, I feel like people sit there and think like, I don't think people realize like what has to go into it. Okay, so Reutzel's the golden boy. What has to go into that process for Reutzel to benefit there? I can tell you what the number one way he could have benefited was if nothing got said. Like that friggin' the little Asian hockey dude, Karini, that he came running over to you and told you that immediately is the giveaway that there's not favoritism there. Like it's the dead giveaway that like the second that came up, you guys were announcing he was screwed. Like that's the hint that I don't know, people can't seem to read or take. Like, okay, so what does announcing it the second time do? Well, Chase, all your fault. Now you made the series look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
in no way did that benefit your series by calling that back. Like, if he was the golden boy, you would just say nothing. You wouldn't be communicating that he's got the penalty. You would be sweeping it under the rug. It would be the most quiet thing ever. You guys would be hoping no one says a word. Like, I don't think people think through, like, okay, how would the evil conspiracy work?
I just don't think there's a golden boy in any type of professional sports, whatever. Like, it just doesn't happen. Like, it's, and I know, you know, we hear it all the time with ASCS. Oh, well, they'll do whatever you want to do, Sam. I'm like, yeah, it don't really work like that, man. It's, you know, people believe what they want to believe.
Well,
The Outlaws, like, they think it's gravel, and he doesn't get any special treatment. You know, none of these guys do. You know, it's until you're out there and you live it, you just don't know it.
yeah, like right now, everyone thinks Gravel's the golden boy. Their team's been like the angriest team after like 3 races this year. Like
Yep.
they've been furious with the outlaw officials. You think the guys yelling at them like 3 nights this year are going to be the golden child? They're absolutely not. Like they couldn't be less of the golden child. I just, man, perception sometimes just blows me away versus reality. Uh, and why would Reitzel be the golden child?
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Like what
Why?
would make him? Why would you anoint him? Like what's the reason? Like
I
there's
can't.
not a the golden child by all rights should be Rico. Oh, he's teamed up with Tony. He was already the biggest name already. Oh, they're together now. Like that should be the golden child. Like I just don't get how people think about that.
You said
But
it, Daryl.
like I say, it could have been completely avoided, Chase, if you'd have just shut the fuck up.
I know. I thought I was fired in the moment, man. I was like, I'm done. It's my last
No,
race. I'm done.
Reitzel actually put in a call and said you were good.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I was worried. I was worried there for about 5 minutes. I was like, oh my god. And it was kind of a funny, like moment because the guy that had the dice rolling fan was right in front of us in the grandstands.
Oh, I meant to ask you about that. How did he take it?
Well, he was the mix of emotions for that guy in 3 minute span. I mean, he was the highest of highs to the lowest of lows to the highest of highs all at the same time, right? His guy's in second. There's an open red. He's going to be right on his back bumper. Oh, the guy in front of him has just been docked 2 spots. And he's going crazy down there. And then, like I said, 38 seconds later, I announce it. He goes, oh, man. And then, of course, he is right there when he goes to pass him. He's about to pass him in turn 3, and the yellow comes out, and the guy is just like, oh, my God. I kept looking down at him, and then, obviously, he ran second and barely lost. He was a good sport about it, but, man, that guy, his heart rate had to be 200 at some point throughout that
He's a
main
good
event.
sport about it.
I wonder, are you sure he didn't flip you off from the stands?
He did not.
I mean,
No, he did not. I was looking at him. I could see him, and he was a good sport about it. So we
It
appreciate
would have
that.
been worth his time to pay you $100 to just not make the second, $1,000 to just not make the second announcement.
You'd have to pay me a lot more. It'd have to be like $10,000 to make.
And
that.
like for context, like even worse on that is, didn't Thorson start like kind of bad for the dice roll? Like when he first got the number, didn't Thorson start in like row 4? So you're like, I don't have a chance. And then
Yeah.
he worked his way up there, and now
Yeah.
you do have a chance. And then Chase breaks your heart.
I'm bearer of bad news, I guess.
But yeah, I meant to ask you about that. I was really curious how the dice roll guy took it.
It was just hilarious that he just so happened to be sitting literally right in front of us at the top of the stand. So it was.
So you thought his misery was hilarious?
His what?
You thought his misery was hilarious?
Oh yeah, I didn't think it was hilarious, but I was just like,
Come on,
it was
Chase,
definitely
you got it.
entertaining to watch him as the race was playing out and all the drama that happened. You know, he was going through it. That's for sure.
I can also picture like Laporta just giving you shit for this too about the double announcement. I feel like Laporta could get pretty sarcastic with that on you.
He is the expert at sarcasm. There's no one better actually than him.
I feel like people don't realize how actually funny he is. Like that's a pretty calmed down, toned down Sunday at church Laporta from my dealings with him. I feel like when we did the last episode with you, I thought he was freaking hilarious, especially off air. Like I think he's gold off air. I wish people would actually see that side of him.
Yeah, it's a tough act to follow, man. Like he is the wittiest guy I've ever met. Like you could say something to him and he'll have some comeback or something to say, and it's always funny. I'm trying to get there. That's a hard thing to learn, but I'm trying to learn some new catchphrases and some new one-liners to hit him with throughout the year. And so far, I haven't gotten any good ones yet.
I heard he's trying to do a Chili's tie-in with literally every single time he talks to Gio, so I'm going to be keeping up with that.
Oh, he got one in the heat race. I know that for sure. I remember hearing that one. Yeah,
to do it all year is to never miss, to always be able to come up with something. Sam, do you have anything you want to talk shit about?
No, I don't really have anything to talk shit about, to be honest. I feel like both series have started off pretty badass, to be honest. I feel like the racing's been great. I feel like I don't know. I feel like the sport's in a good spot. I think for I don't know, what are we on year 3 with High Limit now? I think that it's probably going better than a lot of people expected to this point. And it seems like they still keep making steam, and it feels like the Outlaws, I'll never say the Outlaws aren't affected by it, but they're still rolling strong. They've got good guys. I think there's definitely room for both series to keep rolling on, and I mean that's a good thing, man. I mean, I think they're both going through some of the same regions and getting a lot of fans in some of the same regions. So, I think it's a big, huge positive. I don't think either series is hugely hurting the other, I would say. I think if anything, things are trending upward for both.
Yeah, I think the growth this year is going to be exponential. We've got those TV races coming up. We got one on Tuesday next week. I think those are going to be pretty big. And then, that Saturday night crowd at Vegas was huge. And we know that a lot of those people were there for the first time, and they got a lot of things that you hope for them to see to hook them in, right? Like the altercation on the track between Schuerenberg and Peck, a little drama there. Obviously, you never want to see a guy wreck, but like if you're first time there and you see a sprint car go flying down the track like that and a big crash, you're like, holy cow! Like, it reminds people like this is dangerous, man. These guys are out here risking it all, and I think fans really gravitate towards that. With obviously, like I mentioned, the incident there, then you had the drama in the feature with the horn and Reutzel getting put back, and then Thorson was up there and made it close at the end. I think that it was the relatively perfect package. 2-lane track. You had 2 lanes to work with all the way throughout the feature. I think it was a pretty good deal for the people that were there for the first time. If they didn't like that, they might need to get into like something else, like underwater basket weaving or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty. Like when Dad and I left the track after the opening night, that was our thing. It was like if you were a NASCAR fan, you got everything you wanted. It came down to Larson and Day, green to checkered. That was like if we're not converting you on that race, we're not going to convert you. Like it's just not going to happen. that was pretty much like the perfect race to see for a NASCAR fan to see. The other thing we didn't really talk about was I actually thought people are probably making fun of him, but I was pretty happy to see Ty Gibbs just have like 2 uneventful nights after the two big wrecks he's had there. I think there's people that are like giggling about it and making fun of the guy, and it's like, yeah, that's not good for sprint car racing. Like, we need the NASCAR owners, when their drivers go run sprint car races, we need them to go smoothly. Like, we need them to be uneventful. We need it to be they hopped in the car, they hopped out, nothing happened. Rick Hendrick isn't flicking through TikTok looking at crashes. Like,
I don't think he gets enough notoriety for what he's doing, like for how hard it is to do what he is doing. Like, I don't think people realize, going to a 410 sprint car from NASCAR is a huge transition. Like, it's not normal. He doesn't have a huge background in doing any of that kind of stuff. Like, for him to do what he's doing with the short amount of time he has is honestly pretty impressive. Obviously you're going to have wrecks. You're trying to push the envelope to get everything you can get out of it, and he just doesn't have a ton of experience in some of those positions, and that's why he has wrecked. But to do what he's doing, I mean, it's impressive, to be honest.
I mean, he loves it. I mean, in the brief amount of time I've talked to him, the brief amount of time that my coworkers have talked to him, and then they've told me what he said. I mean, he is into it big time. He loves it. And it was crazy. I was thinking after he got in that wreck, I was like, oh, that's the end of the weekend, right? I guess we'll see him sometime later. But he gets out of the car and he's like smiling and he's talking to Tony and he's like, oh, we'll get it put back together, come back out tomorrow. I'm like, dude, this guy is he is committed to this deal right now, and it's pretty cool to see something like that happen because 3 years ago you would have never thought Ty Gibbs out of anybody would be out here running a 410 sprint car against these guys. There have been maybe some like Ross Chastain or something. Like, he seems like more of a guy that would get into a sprint car and go run it. Not Ty Gibbs, but here he is, and he is really, really enjoying it.
Yeah, and like the crash, I saw a lot of people making fun of him, like, he had forever to react, and it's like, you guys do understand he feels like if he lifts in a sprint car, he's done, right? Like, you guys do understand, like, he feels like if he lifts, he's going to run last. Like, he's going to get smoked. That's why he's keeping his foot in it. It's actually a respect for sprint car racing that, like, I can't lift. If I lift, I'm screwed. And that's how he ends up keeping his foot in it and having to wreck. And then, man, Sam, if you haven't done it, I mean, no one can appreciate, like, the wreck he had in Dirty Air last year. Like, if you haven't run a sprint car at a high level, no one can relate to that. But, that would be, I don't know how to describe it to people, but, like, that would be hellacious for someone just hopping in a sprint car, trying to race, and then dealing with the dirty air he dealt with last year that caused his wreck.
Well, if you'd never hopped in a sprint car, it's man, it's something different. I would think most people would be caught off guard by a mile. I mean, I've seen guys that have been crew guys go hot lap for the first time, and they look terrible. They've watched these guys do this. They've heard throttle positions on the way by, like where the lift points are, if guys are lifting at all. It's kind of like you go to a go-kart track and you're watching these cars go by and everybody's flat on the floor. So you go, oh, okay, well, I can be flat on the floor. So a kid goes out and puts it flat on the floor and he goes right around this little go-kart track. Well, a sprint car guy goes by and he's flat on the floor. I encourage anybody to try to go, hey, well, I'm going to go flat on the floor and see how that goes in a sprint car. It's not like a go-kart.
No, I giggle. I forget what writer talked about it, but basically every time someone's never driven a sprint car, you see them step on the throttle, their head snaps back, and immediately they immediately do a, oh shit, what have I gotten myself into? And I think with like Gibbs and like Ricky Thornton Jr., I don't think these guys are getting into the car cold. Like, I'm sure they are doing testing, but there is nothing that prepares you for racing with the other cars.
Yeah, but Ricky Thornton Jr. has a huge advantage over Gibbs. Like, Gibbs isn't racing late models, bro. Yeah. He's not racing dirt.
Yeah, but
I
I'm
mean,
just saying there's a whole nother level to you've made laps.
I
Like
think you
there's
could
a
kind of
whole
compare it maybe a little bit to Pastrana when he got in last year. I mean, obviously he wasn't
Sure.
out there with other cars; he was by himself. But I mean, just seeing the look on his face just to get in the car, like he was like freak out, and then he got out and he's like, I'm not doing that again. I just
yeah,
it was
and
just
there's
yeah.
there's stuff about the sprint car that people can't relate to. Like it's probably so long ago that Sam doesn't remember, but I can remember like sitting in a sprint car the first time. It doesn't react how you think you're going to react. Like Sam's talking about the crew guy that gets in the car the first time. If you're that guy and you're not going like 60 miles an hour, the car dump trucks. Like the car doesn't even want to turn. So then you have to give it throttle to turn. And then when you do give it throttle, if you're on a slick place, the thing feels like it wants to spin out immediately. Like it is. And then the other thing that I think would shock people is like how violent even just idling around feels. Like, is that fair to say, Sam? I think most people, like when you get these crew guys and people that are like, okay, I'm gonna hop in a sprint car. I think their ball level gets taken around just by how violent, like the
Yeah,
idling
I've
around.
I've heard a lot of guys when they start the car that it fucks them up. They don't need. They're done at that point. Like I've heard a lot of guys say that that have started cars for people. Man, I started the car, I shit myself. Like if that's all it took, like I mean, I guess that's cool.
But we've done our 90 minutes. I don't have anything to talk shit about. I really don't have anything to talk shit about. Chase, I thought you were going to get more fiery. I'm sorry you screwed everything up for High Limit this weekend. It's good to see you guys. Thanks for doing this.
I do have one more thing to talk shit about.
Oh,
What I want to talk shit about is why we're not doing more podcasts. That's what I want to talk shit about.
well, I can tell you, I'm starting to try and do more and more recordings. I did a recording this morning with Tony Laporta, and I'm trying to do it's about 20 minutes long. I'm trying to get one set up where I do one day a week. I talk High Limit with one of the High Limit guys. One day I want to talk 20 minutes with Connor Wade or someone from the Outlaws. And I'm trying to get this to where we come out with 4 or 5 shows a week, not necessarily the pod. I am sure Dom was all in for this week, just because I was with him all weekend. He was really excited to tell a story about me and an Asian prostitute. I can tell you he was ready to go on that. I assure you he had about 7 punchlines he was ready to hit me with all weekend.
Was her name Ling Ling?
I don't know what her name was. I can tell you the story because it just won't get told. Sam has raced in Vegas with Rudine before, and Sam can tell you racing in Vegas with Rudine is an experience. And Dom and I just wanted to get pizza at the end of the first night in Vegas. We just went to the MGM Grand to get pizza and eat something with John Hager, who's kind of like Kevin Rudine's right-hand man. And basically what ended up happening is we ended up in some giant dance club with some famous DJ, and all of a sudden we were in the table right beside him, and this Asian prostitute came up to Dom, and she was trying to figure out who we were, because I'm like wearing dirty-ass jeans and a hoodie. Dom's looks like me.
Which is good clothes for Daryl. That's good clothes for Daryl.
Yeah, I was dressed up. It was my Sunday best. And so she's trying to eye up who she's gotta get the money from. And Dom says that John's just some real estate guy and that he's just some trucking guy. But the real money is with me. That I'm worth $30 million. I'm the guy that bought the table, and Ling Ling, or whatever he called her, was just all over me for the next hour. I couldn't get rid of her. She had some old dude just coming over like every 20 minutes ready to just kill her for hanging off me. Dom sitting on the side just losing his mind, loving every second of it. And I'm pretty sure he was wanting to tell that story, so I'm pretty sure he's not happy about not being on the pod. JJ, To be quite honest, I think people want us to address the DGR. I don't know if I said that right. The DGRD. Did I get that right? I don't know. I don't want to say too much out of turn. Basically, JJ got this opportunity. He feels like he couldn't turn it down. But obviously, with everything that was going on, the stuff wasn't like totally ready to go. So JJ has basically been in a scramble for this week and last week, and just trying to get everything done. I don't really want to speak for him on the DGRD stuff. If he wants to talk about it, we'll let him. If he doesn't, whatever. But we've also been racing all over the place. Like, 3 of us were in Arizona. 3 of us were just in Vegas. So none of us have really been home, so our travel schedules have been hellacious. But I think as the racing season goes, I think you're going to start seeing us do a lot more episodes and making fun of Chase for ruining race nights more regularly.
I don't have any Ling stories from Vegas, but I will mention that on Sunday, I put $200 in a bubble craps machine, and it was all the way at like I said, credit $0, and like the bet was like 30 or something. I had like 5 on each number, and I went 41 rolls on it and walked out of there with $1,300. So yeah,
there you go.
I know. That's pretty good. That's no Ling. It's no Ling, but it's still pretty good.
You know who else could have walked out with a pile of money? The guy that you screwed over that could have won with Thorson. Like, he could have walked. He could have walked out of with.
He could have had 2,500, but yeah. But I screwed him.
Yeah. Now you can put that all on the Blue Jackets to make the playoffs.
I really want to, but the Penguins got another point tonight, so as soon as they make up ground, it's one step forward, 2 steps back.
Can't see Sam Pat there?
I see it, yeah. I was going to look at the score here.
Right there. That's the team. Sam went and saw... You saw McDavid the other night, didn't you, Sam?
Yeah.
Jackson was there, too.
Jackson and Connor Wade were there, and so was Jordan.
Yeah.
It's 1-1 right now. 1-1 in the third period.
I'm in Colorado. This is everything here. This is what it's like when you're like in a playoff battle, Chase. Just so you know.
Yeah, I'm not used to it. So
yeah. You'll get there.
This year. This is the year. So
I think they're getting in this year. I'm actually not going to run my mouth. I think they're getting in.
I hope you're right, because I want to go to a playoff game.
They just needed to use Chinnikov better.
Yeah. Don't even get me started. I was going to name one of my cats after him.
What are your cats? Did you get any new Russian cats?
No, I still have my 3, but I have another cat that I would just change his name if he would have stayed. The Cheetah.
Are they all Russian names?
No. My girlfriend named 2 of them. So we have 5 cats. 3 are hockey players, 2 are just regular.
Oh, they should be hockey players.
I agree, but she had to have her 2. I gave her 2.
One should be Fantilli.
Huh?
One should be Fantilli.
We already have that one. That's already a cat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Fantilli, Marchenko, Voronkov.
I like that combination.
Provorov. Pretty good name.
Nice.
Provorov. It's the best. It's the best when you go to the vet, and the vet's like, what? Voronkov? Like, can you get Voronkov back here? So.
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing this, guys. I'll talk to you later.
All right. See you.
See you guys.